You know that moment when you open your banking app, see a number sitting there, and your brain still whispers, what if something goes wrong tomorrow? That strange mix of relief and doubt shows up even when the balance looks okay, and you start thinking maybe you are still behind somehow. But what if the real truth is the opposite? What if the moment you cross past a certain amount saved, even if it looks small or ordinary, you are already ahead of most people? Not because of luck, but because the math behind stability is completely different from the math of survival. Today I want you to look at your savings in a new way, not as a random pile of money sitting in an account, but as a signal that your life has already shifted into a more powerful category. Because once you hit a certain threshold, something subtle begins. Your financial world no longer depends on panic decisions or last-minute juggling. It moves into a space where quiet consistency matters more than anything. And here is the part people barely talk about. The moment you achieve even a small amount of safety, the rules of the game rearrange themselves in your favour, even if you do not see it yet. This is why so many people with decent savings still feel like they are behind. Their mindset stays in survival mode, even after their math says otherwise. So make sure to stay until the end, because I promise you, by the time you see how the pieces fit together, you will understand why the amount you have saved right now might already mean your financial story is better than you think. And leave a like. Let's start with something extremely simple. If you can cover a small unexpected bill without touching a credit card, you are not just doing okay, you are ahead of millions of people. I want you to picture a $300 emergency, maybe a broken tyre, maybe a doctor visit, maybe the water heater acting strange at 2 in the morning. Statistics show a massive portion of adults cannot cover that without borrowing. But if you can pay it and still move forward with your month, that is not luck. That is progress. And progress compounds long before money does. Now imagine a slightly larger shock, something like $600 or $1,000. If you can cover that and your life does not fall apart, you have crossed into financial stability, even if you do not feel rich, and even if your income is average. Because stability is not about big numbers. Stability is about breathing room. And if you have breathing room, you are safer than you think. Another thing that signals you're ahead is predictability. It sounds boring, but boredom in money is powerful. If your bills come out on time, your account does not bounce, and you no longer feel like you're fighting fires every week. That kind of calm puts you above so many high-income earners who still live in chaos. People forget that someone who earns a huge salary but spends without control is actually in a weaker financial position than someone who earns half as much, but stays consistent. Calm beats chaos. Every time. Next, look at debt. Not emotionally, mathematically. If you are not rolling a credit card balance from month to month, or if you are slowly paying it down, you are gaining ground. And if the only debt you have is something with a low interest rate, like a car payment or a mortgage, then you are already playing a smarter game than someone wondering why their expensive lifestyle keeps draining their bank account. Debt is not moral, it is mechanical. And low interest mechanics beat high interest mechanics every single time. But let's go even deeper. I want to talk about the structure of your money, because structure is the foundation of being ahead. If your money has clear jobs, even small ones, you are thinking like someone who wins long term. When you know what portion goes to rent, what portion goes to food, what portion sits there for emergencies, and what portion is slowly growing for the future, you are not just saving money. You are designing a system, and systems are what protect you when motivation disappears. Now let's move into savings rate, because this is one of the hidden indicators of progress. Forget your salary for a moment. That number matters far less than how much of it you keep. If you regularly save 10% of what you take home, you are not average. You are ahead. If you save 15 or 20%, you are building a powerful trajectory without even noticing it. And if some months you cannot save much, but the next month you get right back on track, that is resilience. And resilience is more valuable than perfection. Then we reach investing, and this is where the math really begins to separate people. If you invest anything at all, even small amounts, you have already stepped into a different financial category. If you are putting aside $50 a week or $200 a month, you are not behind. You are ahead of nearly everyone your age, at a reasonable return, something like 7% a year. Even tiny monthly contributions grow into something meaningful over time. $200 a month becomes around $100,000 in 20 years. Think about that. You are not buying flashy status, you are buying future control. But here is the part where the title of this video becomes real. There is a specific amount of savings that marks the moment when you stop being fragile and start being ahead. But before we get there, you need to understand foundations, because the number only matters if you know why it matters. The first foundation is your baseline monthly cost. If you know how much it takes for you to live 1 month safely, you're already ahead of people who have no idea where their money goes. Add up your rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, and minimum payments. If you know that number within 10 minutes, you are doing better than most adults. If you have 1 month of that saved, you have the beginning of a safety net. If you have 3 months saved, you have a shock absorber. And if you have 6 months saved, you have early freedom. Now here is something subtle I want you to notice. The moment you have even a single month of expenses saved, your life becomes less of a tightrope and more of a stable walkway. You can breathe, you think clearer, you make better decisions, and that clarity puts you ahead. Because money does not just protect your wallet, it protects your judgment. Now that you understand the foundations, it is time to reveal the number most people completely overlook, the number that flips your financial position from fragile to ahead. And what is surprising is that it is not enormous, it is not glamorous, and it is not the kind of number people brag about online. But mathematically, this amount changes everything. The number is this. If you have 3 months of your baseline expenses saved, you are already ahead of the majority of people around you, regardless of income level, job title, or lifestyle. 3 months. That is the turning point. That is the moment the math shifts to your advantage. That is when your financial life moves away from constant reaction and toward deliberate, stable growth. To someone who has not thought about the structure of money before, 3 months might sound small. But run through the logic with me. If your baseline life costs, for example, $2,000 a month, 3 months is $6,000. If your life costs $3,000 a month, 3 months is $9,000. These are not millions. These are not fantasy figures. Yet they represent something incredibly rare, the ability to absorb shocks without being set back years. And that alone puts you ahead. Think about how most people live financially. They balance everything on the edge. Their paychecks hit and vanish within days. Their savings accounts wobble between $200 and zero. Every unexpected moment becomes a crisis. A car repair, a medical bill, a cutback in work hours. One bad week can unravel 3 months of progress. But the moment you hold 3 months of expenses in savings, all of that changes. The fear of instant collapse disappears. A surprising bill becomes an inconvenience instead of a threat. A job change becomes a choice instead of a desperation move. And the feeling of control that comes from that stability is the real advantage. Because once the foundation is in place, you finally gain something most people never get long enough to use: time. Time to think clearly. Time to make good decisions. Time to invest without panic. Time to avoid jumping at the first opportunity because you are scared of losing what little you have. 3 months of savings gives you a buffer between your present and your problems. And that buffer is exactly what allows compounding, consistency, and strategy to start working. Let's take a simple example. Imagine 2 people with the exact same income. Person A has $20 in savings. Person B has 3 months of expenses saved. Something breaks in their home. The repair costs $400. Person A's month shatters. They put it on a credit card. Interest begins accumulating immediately. Their next paycheck is already committed to catching them up. And as the debt grows, so does the stress. Person B pays the $400 and keeps moving. No interest. No chaos, no spirals. Same event. Completely different outcome. And that difference is exactly why 3 months saved puts you ahead. But let's go deeper. Because the math does not stop at safety. Once you have 3 months saved, your investing habits start transforming from optional to powerful. Why? Because when you are not terrified of losing your entire financial footing, you can invest regularly without pulling money out every time something goes wrong. And regular investing is where compounding becomes meaningful. Even small, consistent contributions grow into life-changing amounts over time. But consistency only happens when surprises do not force you to pause every few weeks. And that is why the 3-month threshold matters more than the size of your salary. Now let's talk about direction. Because the power of being ahead does not come from one perfect month. It comes from watching your numbers move in the right direction over time. If your savings is trending upward, even slowly, you are ahead. If your debt is shrinking, even gradually, you are ahead. If your investing account is receiving deposits, even small ones, you are ahead. People underestimate how rare forward motion is. Most people do not move forward. They oscillate. They crash. They repeat the same mistakes. But you are building systems instead of relying on hope. And systems produce stability long before wealth is visible. Next, let's confront the mental trap that confuses thousands of people who are actually ahead. The trap is comparison. You might see someone with a nicer car, a newer phone, more vacations, or a bigger apartment, and you start thinking they must be doing better. But lifestyle is not a scoreboard. Math is. A person with a luxury car and $200 in the bank is fragile, even if they look successful. A person with a modest car and 3 months of savings is strong, even if they look ordinary. The world does not reward appearances. it rewards margin. And 3 months of savings gives you margin most people lack. Let's talk more about what being ahead feels like, because it is not flashy, it is quiet. It looks like paying your bills without waiting for the next paycheck to rescue you. It looks like knowing your monthly expenses within a few minutes of thinking about them. It looks like having a small emergency fund that stays untouched unless something truly unexpected happens. And the best way to create your emergency fund in 2026 is by opening a YouTube channel, since YouTube is the golden opportunity of this decade, and it's blowing up every small channel that does things right, as I teach you in my free community in the link below. It looks like investing, even when the amount seems small. It looks like watching your habits stay consistent even when your motivation fades. That quiet consistency is the real sign that you are ahead. And most people never experience it because they never build a buffer large enough to stabilize their life. Now let's bring the math back in. Suppose you invest $500 a month with an average return of 7%. In 10 years, that becomes around $85,000. In 20 years, around $260,000. If you invest $300 a month, the numbers adjust, but the principle stays the same. Compounding is not about huge contributions. It is about uninterrupted contributions. And that uninterrupted rhythm only becomes possible when savings protects you from sudden disruptions. That is the role of the 3-month number. It is the foundation beneath your future math. Another reason 3 months saved puts you ahead is that it gives you options. And options are the true currency of financial freedom. The option to leave a toxic job. The option to take a week to think before making a big decision. The option to handle emergencies without ruin. The option to choose instead of react. Most people never get that far. They live one step behind their bills. But you, with 3 months saved, have something they do not. Room. And room is where your financial life starts to expand. Now I want you to picture where you stand today. If you have 3 months saved, you are ahead. If you have more, you are in an even stronger position. If you have less, that is not failure. That is simply a direction to walk in. The first month is the foundation. The second month is stability. The third month is momentum. And once momentum arrives, you start noticing that your financial identity has changed. You are not fragile. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are building. The moment you save 3 months of expenses, you step into a different class of financial strength. Not because the number itself is magical, but because the structure it creates transforms how your life reacts to stress. That amount gives you control, clarity, and time. And those 3 ingredients accelerate every good habit you already have. The world looks at wealth through the lens of income, but the truth is simpler. Stability is the first sign of being ahead, and you reach it long before you become rich. If you already have that amount saved, you are further along than your anxiety suggests. Keep your systems automatic, keep your lifestyle slightly below your income, and keep your investing consistent. The math will handle the rest. And if you are still working toward that number, good. You now know exactly what target turns your entire financial path in your favor. 3 months. That is the line. And once you cross it, everything begins to change. And everything will change even more when you subscribe to this channel. Oh, anyway, I opened a new completely free community where I explain how to create and scale your YouTube channel. After an experience with over 10 successful channels, there I will give you all my strategies and tips to monetize and scale your faceless YouTube channel. And I will help you step by step, since YouTube is the golden opportunity of 2026 if done well. I'm waiting for you. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.